Survivor Series.
Survivor Series 2000. This was a pay-per-view I was really looking forward to going back and rewatching again. It's been a while for this one. And, the year 2000 really was a time when WWF was still skyrocketing in popularity. Couldn't do any wrong. 2000, for me at least, was a great year for pay-per-view. So we had an opening matchup with Steve Blackman, Crash Holly, and Molly Holly versus TNA. And they actually had TNAPA t-shirts on. So that was a nice little detail. And then Trish Stratus was also teaming with TNA, which was Albert and Test. It's a decent 6-person mixed tag team match. It only goes 5 minutes. So, it's not a complete stinker, but at the same time, in 5 minutes, it's really hard to do anything. But it really kind of sets the tone for the show in kind of a quick-paced way. And then we have the Radicals. Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn defeating Billy Gunn, China, K-Quick, a.k.a. R-Truth, and then Road Dogg. So this is a 4-on-4 Survivor Series match. This went 12 minutes and 43 seconds. And, it's cool to see Billy Gunn and Road Dogg back again because, this was after, DX. Billy Gunn, this was his first pay-per-view back from injury. And this is an okay Survivor Series elimination match. China really doesn't last very long. Her and Eddie obviously were, together in the previous storyline. And then he was found in the shower with 2 of the Godfather's hoes. So yeah, which one of them was Victoria, so fun fact. But, this is a decent 4-on-4 Survivor Series match. Really nothing to write home about, though. And, I've always said, with these traditional matches, it's hard to do anything in 12 minutes and 43 seconds. And then we have Kane versus Chris Jericho in a nice little exhibition match. They had a nice little storyline going on. But, this match is nowhere near as good for me. As it's not as good as their Last Man Standing match at Armageddon. It's just Kane and Chris Jericho I never thought had the best chemistry in the world, honestly. This is a decent match at best, but, the rivalry would only climb from here, so that's something you got to give them. And even later in the night, Chris Jericho would attack Kane, and, they would have a little brawl in the backstage area. So, good for them. But, we had Kane defeating Chris Jericho here in 12 minutes and 32 seconds in a decent match to kind of carry along the rivalry. And like I said, that rivalry would kind of jumpstart more and more as it went on and would, have a really good match at Armageddon, Last Man Standing. Then we had William Regal and Hardcore Holly in a singles match for the European Championship. Really nothing here. Ended by DQ. William Regal and Hardcore Holly, 2 great talents, but it just did not really mesh well here. And then we had The Rock versus Rikishi in probably the best match of the night so far. Not really saying much, but, it's still a solid match. You have 11 minutes and 19 seconds here, and this kind of stemmed from Survivor Series 99 with the whole, road incidents when The Rock was blamed for hitting Stone Cold with the car. And, this was the kind of the boiling point for Rikishi and The Rock. The Rock was just kind of getting revenge here because he was innocent. And, it's a good match. It really just is predictable. You kind of know The Rock's going to win here. He wins with the people's elbow and then gets 4 Banzai drops at the end in a post-match beatdown. So that kind of continues this on, Rikishi getting his heat back, even though he lost. He gets a good beatdown afterwards. So, yeah, really doesn't do much harm to Rikishi. And, that's good booking, If you want to have your heel lose, then have him gain his heat back by having a post-match beatdown to the babyface. It's good booking. And then we have Kurt Angle versus The Undertaker for the WWF Championship. Third to last, but, I think it's good placement on the card. Normally, I always say the title should always go on last, no matter what. But this is the exception for me. Kurt Angle was having a really good rookie year. He was winning titles. He won King of the Ring. This was only a year in. He debuted last year at Survivor Series in '99. So this was impressive. And we had Edge and Christian, of course, getting involved. Gotta love Edge and Christian, one of my all-time favorite tag teams. And, there was a lot of fuckery, like Attitude Era fuckery in this match. A lot of, run-ins from Edge and Christian. And then you had Kurt Angle's brother getting involved. And, this was done a few times. This was twin magic, if you want to call it that. Kind of like a Doink the Clown type thing. But, yeah, Kurt Angle had gone under the ring. Undertaker pulled him back out. And, basically beat him down more. The ref was going to count the pin. And it turns out it wasn't actually Kurt Angle. It was his brother. And then Kurt Angle comes in and, of course, retains the title with the distraction with his brother. So, very wonky, but at the same time, it's a solid WWF title match. And then we had the 4-on-4 Survivor Series elimination match. We had the Dudleys and the Hardys teaming up, which is really cool to see. And they defeated Edge and Christian and Right to Censor, which was Bull Buchanan and the Good Father. And they were accompanied by none other than Val Venus. And, this was only 10 minutes long, but I think this was a more fast-paced, action-packed, traditional Survivor Series match of the night. So, I think this was the best of the two traditional matches. But I always preferred 5-on-5, but, these 4-on-4s, obviously they're not going to last as long, and you have more wiggle room in terms of booking. So, makes sense. And it's not something I'm going to judge. But, solid, exciting match. You had Jeff Hardy being the sole survivor. And then he got beat down by, Right to Censor. And then everyone else kind of came out, the Dudleys. And, Matt Hardy came out and put them all through tables at the end. So, yeah. All is good and ends well. And then finally, we have your main event of the night. This was a no disqualification match. This went 25 minutes and 10 seconds. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Triple H. And this ended in a no contest. And this is just infamous for why it ended in a no contest. So, they're brawling all around the arena. You have fans pouring drinks on them, which is kind of funny. But it's disrespectful, but funny at the same time. You had the Radicals getting involved. And, it spills out into the parking lot. Triple H ends up going into a car and, looking for Stone Cold, looking to run him over. And then a giant forklift out of nowhere starts lifting up the car. And then, of course, Triple H is like, oh, I regret the car incident. I'm sorry. This doesn't need to happen this way. And then he yells, oh shit. And then the car goes flying down, basically killing Triple H, never to be seen again in the wrestling business. Gotta love wrestling. He appears on Monday Night Raw, basically unscathed from the car incident here. But yeah, Stone Cold drops the car and then basically just walks off, and that's the end of the pay-per-view. So an overall letter grade for this show. I think it's a solid, fun show. It doesn't have the best in-ring action at times, but it's well-structured, very well-paced. This show has great pacing. Every match felt like it was where it needed to be. I'm going to give this pay-per-view a B-. It's up there in terms of good Survivor Series pay-per-views, but there could have been room for improvement. But at the same time, I thought this was a solid Attitude Era show, so a B- from me. Let me know your thoughts down below. For now, this has been the DVD Freak. Peace out.